What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I want to share with you a couple of things that are working extremely well for me, or so I believe and feel anyway, specifically in the world of nutrition. We do these kind of like monthly favorites episodes, definitely not once a month, so you can call me out for the name being incredibly misleading. And normally we cover one thing that's working for me that I'm kind of dabbling with and trying at the moment, one thing in the world of nutrition, one thing in the world of training, and one thing in the world of kind of recovery and biohacking stuff. Today, however, I just kind of wanted to double down on the nutritional side of things. There has been more maneuverability and a couple of different nuances of things that I've tried over the last few weeks and months in the domain of my diet than in the other two, so I thought I'd do a video specifically on that. Getting straight into it then, no one really seems to have a problem globally in having a coffee in the morning. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I don't have a coffee for the first 90 minutes of the day because your adenosine system, which is the physiological system that caffeine binds to, isn't active for that time. So I'm going to get up, next some electrolyte salts, and then have a coffee about 90 minutes later. However, the murkiness of the current contemporary advice on caffeine seems to be when is the latest that you can have caffeine in a day before it starts to ruin your sleep, because the half-life is flipping however long it is. Now, I'm a big fan of coffee and I enjoy the taste, I enjoy the experience, I enjoy everything. So something I started trying a couple of months ago was stacking caffeine with something else that gives me a little bit of, I don't know if it's an energetic boost, but definitely a feeling of present-mindedness in terms of just sharpening the axe of my mental acuity, and that is amino acids. So I started decreasing the amount of caffeine that I was having to like a single shot of espresso just after lunch, and having it with some amino acids, and those two felt like they kind of positively compounded each other, and I felt great. However, the taste of coffee has this amazing effect on me, as I'm sure it does on billions of other people, which is why it's one of the biggest markets in the world. It kind of makes me want more coffee. What I've done is I've been messing around with a few different products that have both caffeine and aminos in them. Kind of like a pre-workout, but having the caffeine dialed back. I definitely don't want anywhere near 100 milligrams of caffeine. You know, if you're having a large coffee at Starbucks, you're probably looking at between double and 3 times that. So I'm looking anywhere between 60 and 70 milligrams of caffeine, but with some amino acids, all in something that doesn't taste like coffee, so it doesn't just trigger that flipping crazy craving stimulus I get to have more of that taste. And this is what I came up with in 3, 2, 1. Boom, energy booster by Innermost. This is a company that I've got a few things from over the last few months, including some amazing flipping protein supplements that have like adaptogenic mushrooms in them as well, which two things I love blended into one by a company that seems to really flipping give a shit about quality. I do need to learn more about them, and I have exchanged a few emails, but just going off on a little bit of a tangent, there are numerous nutrition companies that have sent me stuff and asked me to become an ambassador. I have gone back to them and said, this is absolutely always, in my opinion, objectively worth an investigation, but I would like to possibly have a conversation with you where you can substantiate the claim of higher quality products, which is something that they all kind of boast about. Very rarely do I get an email back or I get some generic kind of fluff. The guys at Innermost are probably more communicative than the staff at any other nutrition company and supplement company that I spoke to. And I'm not going to name names because obviously because it's not my style to be throwing shade and ting, but just a big chuck up for these guys. But tangent over, I'll take a deep dive into the kind of quality and the self-reported benefit of some of their other stuff at a later date, I'm sure. But for now, this product is what I want to talk to you about. Amino acids and caffeine, but per serving it only has 70 milligrams, which is just enough that it kind of perks me up. I've been doing this probably kind of about 50% of the time over the last 2-3 weeks. And I have to say that night I normally sleep better because this is going to be less caffeine than I would have if I had an afternoon coffee. So you've got BCAA complex, citrulline malate, maca, beta-alanine, vitamin B complex, loads of stuff. Under the general premise of stacking some amino acids with some caffeine in the afternoon to really perk you up and just flipping springboard you through that afternoon slump. That is the general concept of this first nutritional tip. This, however, would be the product that I recommend. I don't have an affiliate code or anything. I'm being completely candid with you, lovely bunch. I'm dubious as to whether or not I want to affiliate with a nutritional company at the moment because it genuinely feels like it's a topic that I don't really know enough about. If somebody said to me, what's the difference between good whey protein and bad whey protein? I wouldn't have a fucking Scooby. Therefore, I don't want to necessarily endorse something and genuinely lay claim to the belief that it's superior when I don't even know what metrics would be measured in superior protein. So all I can do is own my story and lay claim to my experience. But these guys, I have to say, this product is flipping amazing. The protein that they sent me which I was going to review, but it was actually so good I've already finished it. It was amazing as well. And the team that I'm speaking to over email, probably 2-3 times a week at the moment, are more communicative than the staff at any other company. So Live Innermost, it's a thumbs up from me. And it looks like that, and I'm only one tip in, but I've nearly drunk it all, because that's how good it is. Number 2 now, ironically onto protein. However, this is a bit of an interesting development. I see different protein products as a really, really good way to bolster your protein. I don't respond particularly well to conventional kind of whey protein over and above a certain amount, right? So it's like I'm fine with dairy to a certain point, and then I will have one shake too many or a protein bar too many, and I start to feel a little bit bloated and I'm gonna get a spot on my face. Like absolute goddamn clockwork. Clear whey is incredibly good and doesn't really give me the same side effects, and it's much more fruity, it's easier to digest, it's experienced in a much lighter way. Plant-based protein, there have been a few brands. I like the Innermost one. I've heard very good things about Awesome Supplements by Ben Coomber. And the raw BCAA thing from Vivo Life is probably the best tasting plant protein I've ever had. However, what I was looking for is something that does taste milky, that is a little bit thicker, a little bit more kind of chunky, not in texture, but in terms of how satisfied you feel after, but that isn't whey, but that can be mixed with gluten-free cereal. So basically, my second hack of the day is collagen protein from My Protein, which looks like this, mixed with some gluten-free cereal. So basically, gluten-free cereal, if it's like corn flakes or something, it's normally some kind of rice or corn flake. It's usually incredibly light, but it does feel like a bit of a treat. In terms of when I get a pang of kind of sugar cravings and my sweet tooth kicks in, and my petulant 4-year-old inner child is at the wheel of my behavior, and he's like, I will fucking have something sweet right now, thank you, grown-up Jim. Some collagen protein mixed with some, I don't know, almond milk, and then a little bit of dairy, so I have some like kefir, so some probiotic-filled cultured yogurt, all in a typically athlete-sized enormous bowl of cereal, maybe with some blueberries on it. It feels like an unbelievable treat. It really is quite satisfying, it really is quite filling, but not in a way that makes me feel bloated. It's nice and balanced, and I'm literally coming around to the idea that this might be one of the best all-round snacks. Because with me, there's some blueberries, some raspberries, strawberries, a banana, whatever. I'd say one piece of fruit that I normally have. Some puffed rice things or some gluten-free cornflakes are not leaving me feeling bloated or tired at all. You get some probiotics in there with the kefir, and it's an unbelievable way to bolster your protein. So that is my second tip of the day, and this is something that I'm confident is now going to be a regular part of my routine, because it is so quick, it is so simple, it is something that I get pleasure from having every single day, which is why I'm happy to share it with you guys, and that is my second tip of the day. And my third and final tip of the day, guys, is something that I've shared with a couple of people, and pretty much every single one of them passes heavy judgment on me. Replace your absurdly, extortionately expensive fillet of salmon for your evening meal with 2, 3, however hungry you are, tins of sardines or mackerel. Now, for those of you that think that's disgusting, I don't care. The way that I see it, there are 3 primary benefits of this stuff over buying like a fillet of salmon or sea bass or cod or something like that. Number 1, it is so much cheaper. So this, Essentials Waitrose, I know it's only the essential, it's still Waitrose though. For those of you that aren't English, this is like one of our slightly more high-end grocery stores in the UK. This was 60p. 3 of these is 180, which I'm sure you could have worked out yourself, but I double checked it on my abacus about 5 minutes ago, so I thought I'd share it with you now. £1.80 for 3 tins, compared to the protein portion that I would expect in an evening meal. Bearing in mind I have about 3,500 calories a day, and sometimes I only eat twice. It's going to be a pretty sizable portion of salmon, which can realistically cost me about £10. Now, it's not all about money, but that is a factor. The second benefit is that it actually might be healthier, and here's why. One of the things I learned last year is that smaller fish tend not to live as long, because the more predatory you are when you live in the sea seems to be extremely positively correlated to your size. And salmon and mackerel are very small, so they don't tend to live as long. Fish that don't tend to live as long tend to have a much lower level of toxins and chemicals in their system. So as well as being cheaper, it might actually be less deleterious to your system because it's got less crap in it. So it's healthier in terms of lack of bad stuff, but what about the presence of good stuff? Well, sardines and mackerel might actually win there as well. One of the big sponsoring principles of this channel when it started about 2.5 years ago was to endorse different but accessible approaches to slightly more ancestral living. One of them is something called nose to tail eating, which is where historically we've eaten a lot more of the animal than just the fleshy portion. So we didn't used to kill a cow take 3 steaks from its arse and chuck the rest of the fucking thing in the bin. Obviously, it's not exactly the same with fish, but the thing about tinned sardines and mackerel is obviously they have been gutted, but, and this is where some of you are going to start to think I'm disgusting, but hopefully some of you will take this on board as, don't be a pussy, we wouldn't have got this far in human evolution if we were so weak that we couldn't eat things that were icky. Tins of mackerel less so. Tins of sardines have the spine in them. More well-rounded, comprehensive nutrient profile if you're eating some bones as well, right? And for those of you who think you can't do that and it'll break your teeth, it is not like eating the bone of a dinosaur. This is a fish bone, and it is not like a super long, sharp thing like when you eat a fillet of fish in a restaurant and they haven't quite taken all the bones out properly, and it's something that if you chewed it at the wrong angle, it would just be sticking out the side of your fucking cheek. It's literally a tiny little thing about that long, and it looks very much the way you'd expect a spinal column to look. Nice and crunchy, adds a bit of texture to the fish, and if you don't like it, that's fine. But I do, and I think you should at least try it. So those are my 3 tips of the day, guys. Have a little bit less caffeine mixed in with some amino acids early in the afternoon to prevent you from craving coffee and more caffeine for the rest of the day. Mix some collagen with some healthy cereal and some probiotic kefir, and maybe some berries as well for what might be the most delicious flipping snack in history. And replace your expensive fillet of fish with a couple of tins of fish. It's cheaper, lower in heavy metals and toxins and chemicals and crap, and a more comprehensive amino acid and nutrient profile because you get to eat the spine. Like a boss. Hope you did enjoy that, guys. If you did, please do smash that like button. It takes you 2 seconds. It's incredibly beneficial for me and the growth of the channel. Any questions or comments or feedback or suggestions on other fish that I can eat, please put it down in the comment section below. And as always, squad, stay strong, stay healthy, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next video.